Now, 1969, remembered as one of the most turbulent times in our country, it was not uncommon for some of our biggest cities to experience violent outbreaks. Well, our Steve Sumrall shows us in tonight's Our Desert Past, Palm Springs was no exception.
Some of the acts that were Eric Burden and Ike and Tina Turner and Steve Miller Band, and quite a great concentration of rock and roll.
4 months before Woodstock, our valley was to experience its own musical event. The Palm Springs Pop Festival was a series of outdoor concerts that was to rock the desert on the first 2 nights of April, 1969. The event kicked off at 6 p.m. at the Sun Air Drive-In.
A lot of kids actually rushed the barriers and got in, so a lot of people saw the concert without paying for it.
Other than trespassing, there were very few problems presented on the first night of the festival. The same could not be said for the second night. It was inside our local ballpark, then known as Angel Stadium, where 3,500 music fans gathered peacefully for a night of entertainment. But it was outside the event, right here, where things really got out of control.
There were 1,500 people outside approximately that were trying to get inside, and that's kind of, I think, what spurred the riot.
The crowd transformed into an unruly mob. Armed with artillery such as rocks, bottles, and sand-filled soda cans, they attacked the police. For the first time in the history of Palm Springs, the police department required assistance from other cities, some as far as 100 miles away. It was also the first time that the city had used tear gas to control an unruly crowd. This melee quickly expanded onto neighboring properties.
As the kids were all coming across Sunrise Way, and they were throwing rocks and bottles and all kinds of stuff, the windows got broken in the Shell station that was right on the corner of Ramon and Sunrise.
This would lead to a violent reaction by Sunrise Shell station owner Harlan "Moose" Moore.
He grabbed a .22 caliber and shot into the crowd, and one young man was hit and another girl was just grazed.
That young man was 16-year-old Richard Bradford of Venice, California. He was transported to a hospital and later died from his injuries. Harlan Moore's shooting was deemed to be self-defense by law enforcement, so the Shell station owner didn't face any serious consequences for his actions. During this time, Palm Springs, as well as the law enforcement officials who served the city, were very conservative. The visiting youth, who the police had referred to as rowdy hippies, had been disillusioned by the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War and very mistrusting and rebellious against law enforcement. Given the circumstances, this could have happened anywhere.
This was not particular to Palm Springs. The hippie movement, as they called it, was in full swing. And, it was such a counterculture movement that law enforcement fought against it everywhere it was.
For Our Desert Past, Steve Sumrall, NBC Palm Springs, News First.